Guys, it's the Unsmooth Criminal, and I just had a great time talking to Roman Mina on Discord, and he had the best idea I could possibly help with creating, and it was, what if Fem Deku or Deku, whatever I wanted to do, and I prefer Fem ships or Fem's done. So, what if Fem Deku was Higakure's sibling? Now they're going to be twins, or somewhat identical twins, and the difference is Femdeku has the pink and purple color scheme of the Cheshire Cat from the animated Alice in Wonderland, and the live action Alice in Wonderland is the same color scheme as uh hmm Yui. Yui. I'm gonna go Yui. Moon. Yui. Yeah. So they have these color schemes, and their parents are like, that's strange. Their father has an invisibility quirk, and he has blue eyes and white hair, and he has a few streaks of blue in his hair. And Yui has blue eyes, blue cat eyes, white hair, and streaks in her hair. And Higakure has her mother's looks of this. She has her mother's looks. And Higakure has the same abilities as the Cheshire Cat. She could fly, or Higakure can't fly, but she could teleport. She could teleport people with her. She could teleport only a short distance, though. Like, it's like a blink for a warlock. It can only go a certain amount of distance before it stops. And on the other hand, there's Yui, who can teleport as long and far as she wants, but she can't teleport anybody with her. She can fly for a total of a minute, and then once she picks up someone, she can only fly for 30 seconds, and if she picks up any more people, she can only fly for 20 seconds. So she can fly for a minute, and then she could teleport, and then her flying cooldown uh, is reset. So she could fly, teleport, fly, to stay in the air. And we go to when they're four. They walk into the Quirk Doctor's office. This is not the canon Quirk Doctor. And the doctor says, "Hello there. What are these two little wonderful people?" And Higakure says her name. I'm just going to call her Higakure. And Yui says her name, and the doctor's like, "Okay, let me check your quirks." And so he checks Yui's first because Yui's the younger one. And then he checks Higakure's. And he says, "Okay, so there's a little similarities, there's little differences. Both of their quirks are called Cheshire." And the parents go, "Okay, what does it do?" And he goes, "For Hagakure, she can teleport a small distance and teleport as many times as she wants and as many people as she wants at the same time. But she can't fly. She can go invisible, but she can't fly." And I go, "Okay, this is understandable. Now what's Yui's quirk?" And he goes, "Her quirk has a downside, but it's not supposed to show its ugly head ever. This downside is never going to show its ugly head." And they go, "Okay, what is this downside?" And he says, "Mind fracture. If something happens to her to hurt her mentally, her mind's going to fracture into two parts." And Hagakure hugs her, being like, "It's okay, I'll protect you." And her parents look at her and go, "That's cute." And So they say, can you leave the room for a little bit to their children? And they go, okay. And so the doctor says the quirk has its own sentience. And they go, okay, so what's supposed to happen? And he says that there's only one way to stop the quirk from taking control, and the control lasts an hour. And once the hour is over, she gets control again, but she gets no memories from that time that the quirk took over. And the quirk is going to try to scare people. And he explains the entire uh, uh, negatives of the quirk, and she or the mother goes, okay, that makes sense. And the father goes, what have we given birth to? And so after a while, they walk out and say, okay, Yui, you can fly, you can carry people with you, you can only fly for a short period of time, and you can teleport as long a distance as you want, but you can't teleport with people. And Yui goes, ooh, cool. So she grabs onto her bigger sister, Hagakure, and she picks up Hagakure and says, okay, we're gonna be at the car. And so she tries to fly, and she focuses and focuses, and finally lifts off the ground. And she flies really fast for being a little one, and gets to the car and hits the ground, and she hurt her knee a little, and Hagakure freaks out, being like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she goes, I'm fine. And she's panting, being like, that was hard. So we skip, therefore, we skip 6 years to where they're 10. And at this time, Hagakure and Yui have gotten extremely close because they've been bullied at school for their cat quirks. They both have what looks like paws, and they have cat eyes, cat ears. They have a big full head of hair that's literally overflowing at this point. They got a tail. Hold on. They both kind of look like this, but Yui has a white and blue color scheme. Where you see the purple, think of white, and where you see the pink, you see the blue. So they've gotten really close, and one day they get home and they see their door has been broken into. And they're like, what the hell is this? And so they walk in, they look around, and they yell, Mom, Dad, are you home? And out of nowhere, someone kicks Hagakure. And Yui wasn't paying attention, so she walked into her room, and the door shut behind Yui. And it locked. And she started freaking out because, flashback a few years, one day her father's taking off her doorknob, and she asks her father, what is he doing? And he says, I'm putting a lock in so we can protect you better. And so she thinks, oh, it's going to be all fine. And a day later, after he puts the lock in, he locks the door. And she's locked into her room. And she walks up to the door and tries to do the door handle, and she thinks, oh, it can't be opened by my side, so it couldn't be opened by their side. Child logic, obviously. So we get back to present, and she starts pulling at the handle, being like, hey, what? Why? And she keeps pulling at the handle, and she's mentally freaking out and physically freaking out. She's basically breaking down and having a panic attack. Because her sister's not next to her, and there's a chance that her sister could get hurt. On the outside of the door, her sister sees her father locking the door and taking his knife and being like, I can't have another child because this is an abomination. And he puts chains on the door And he uses uh his obnoxious strength, because he's has somewhat of a mutation quirk to help him with his strength, to lock the door down so no one can open it, because it opens out into the hallway. And Hagakure sees this and is like, what? And passes out again because of the pain. Because she was freaking kicked hard. So he finally chains the door and he looks at his daughter and he's like, you're also an abomination. Damn monster. And he had a slight mutation, so he had claws instead of normal fingernails. But it's unnoticeable to most people, so he treats mutation quirk people like most people do. But his wife didn't have a mutation. She had a emitter quirk that gave her the ears. So at times his wife's ears would disappear and her tail would disappear too. But their daughters had mutations, so he was very biased about that and got very angry at his wife. So, well, in Yui's room, she starts to smell this scent of iron. And she has a bathroom in her room, and she walks over to where the scent's coming from and walks into the bathroom and sees her mother gutted and bloodied, and she screams, and Hagakure is like, what did you do? And he forgot she had a teleportation quirk. So while Yui's in her bathroom screaming her head off, she's mentally breaking down. And all of a sudden, her mind breaks down and she gains another personality. Don't look at that daddy sign or the collar in her mouth. Just think of the rest of the picture. That's what she looks like now. Her hair shortens, she goes completely invisible, her teeth elongate, her ears go straight up, and she starts smiling. And everything except her teeth and her eyes go invisible. And she teleports in front of her father, and she's just smiling. And he is not paying attention, and he sees this face teleport in front of her, and he flips out, screaming like, what the hell? What the fuck? And she's just smiling in front of him, and so she takes her hand and thrusts it through his neck, pulls her hand back out, and starts licking the blood and cleaning herself like a cat would. And then she just disappears. We skip 4 years, or no, 3 years, and we follow a man who has a bird mask on, and he's chasing a little girl. And this little girl is white-haired, has a little horn, and is crying. And all of a sudden, this bird masked man sees a face in front of the little girl. And the face is frowning, looking sad. And the little girl sees this face and asks what's wrong, and she stops for a second, and this face looks at her and frowns even more, and the frown just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the little girl starts feeling even more sad and wondering what's wrong with this face, and asks, what's wrong? And finally voices it, and all of a sudden a hand appears and points at Overhaul. And the frown gets even bigger, and Eri looks back and sees Overhaul and starts freaking out. And all of a sudden she feels a big hug from these two arms. And the arms are gone now. They're just completely gone. And the hug's gone, and she's like, oh, what was that? And all of a sudden, she hears a gargling sound. And now she's on the roof somehow. Like, she's like, what? And it's currently uh, dawn at this point, and she's like, what the hell is happening? And she looks around and sees the face again. And it's the mouth is just straight across without anything. It's just the mouth straight across, and it looks at her and tilts. The eyes tilt, the mouth tilts, and she goes, "Did you hurt that man behind me?" And she nods. Her head's visibly showing, and Aries sees that an ear has been bitten part off, and another ear is perfectly fine, and she's got a claw mark on her head, on her face, and she just nods, saying, "Yes, I did." And Ari hugs her, saying, "Thank you." And so she hugs back, saying, "You're welcome." And Ari hears this sweet little voice, and this voice says, "I have a question for you." And it's soft and very soothing voice. And Ari goes, "What's the question?" And she's getting calmed by the sound of this voice. And the voice says, "Would you like me to take care of you?" And Ari looks up and gets a little scared and goes, I don't know. And she goes, "Don't worry. No one will hurt you anymore." And she goes, "Yeah, sure." And so Ari gets picked up by this cat girl looking in person and sees that she's got a tail and ears and she's flying. And Ari's like, "Oh, this is so cool." And the Cheshire side of Yui goes, "I know." And the Cheshire looks at the sunrise and goes, "Oh, crap, I gotta go faster." And she starts flying faster, and Aries almost thrown off at one point, but she gets a big hug from Yui, and 5 seconds into the faster flight, and Yui wakes up from the night that she had, and she sees a little girl in her arms on her bed. And she's like, okay. So I've woken up with blood on my hands. I've woken up with blood all over me. Now I wake up with a child. This is strange. But for some reason, she knows this child. She knows this child's name is Ari, and she knows that she promised to take care of her. But she doesn't remember ever making this promise or ever remember asking this child's name. So she gets up, and Ari hugs a little tighter, being like, "Don't go." And she goes, "Okay, let me lay here for a little bit longer." And she lays and hugs Ari, and her hair is fluffy like a pillow. And so Ari snuggles into her a little bit, and her chest area is fluffy like a pillow. And Ari snuggles in even more, and Yui starts to giggle because it's cute what Ari looks like. And Yui at this point is mentally broken. She thinks that everything is gray, which everything is gray, and there's no real heroes in this world, and that the only ones she can trust are the ones that she just feels she can trust. And she can only trust 3 people at this point: herself, this little girl in front of her, and this random kid that she met that's 2 years older than her. And so she finally gets up, and Aries on the bed asleep and now rolling around. And so she's like, "Fine." So she picks up Ari and keeps hugging her and takes her into the kitchen and whispers to Toya, "Can you make breakfast? I'll take care of this little one." And Toya goes, okay. Because Toya knows her secret, and Cheshire has threatened him multiple times to slice his throat if he tells Yui about Cheshire. And he goes, okay, why don't you want me to tell Yui about you? And Cheshire says that family shouldn't worry about family. You're not family yet. And he goes, what do you mean yet? And this is after a month of her meeting Toya, and Cheshire goes, she's got feelings for you, and if you act upon them before she starts acting upon them, I will slit your throat. And if you tell her about me, I will slit your throat. So don't say shit. And Cheshire is absolutely terrifying to people that Cheshire doesn't like. And when Cheshire doesn't like you, you know Cheshire doesn't like you. So Toya's like, fine, fine, fine. Now we go back to present. Toya walks into the kitchen, and Toya's been cooking for them for a while now, so he's good at cooking, or cooking for her for a while now, and she's good, and he's good at cooking. So Ari starts to smell eggs and bacon, and she wakes up, and she's still hugging onto this cat girl, and she goes, excuse me, what's your name? And she goes, my name is Yui, and the one cooking in the kitchen right now is Toya. We'll take care of you now. And she goes, okay. What happened to the black-eared kitty? And Izumi tilts her head, and Toya goes, oh, she had to leave. Yuta doesn't know her. She's a friend of mine. And Eri goes, oh, okay. And Yui's like, who's the black-haired cat? And he goes, oh, no one you need to worry about. And he's sweating bullets at this point in the kitchen. And they're yelling from the living room to the kitchen, because this is a small apartment. And she's asking what's this about a black-haired cat? And he goes, nothing you need to worry about. And she goes, damn right it's something I need to worry about. This is my goddamn territory. And she starts to get territorial. Cats. Especially when they find their mates. They're getting territorial. So he goes, it's seriously nothing you need to worry about. And she goes, fine. Be that way. And so she goes back to paying attention to Eri, and she gets on to knowing gets to knowing Eri. And all of a sudden they hear a knock at the door. And this zombie-looking man is at the door, and Yui walks the door and opens the door and asks, yes. And he says, I'm here to investigate the murder of a well-known villain, and you are the prime suspect of the murder. And she goes, how? I was here all night. And she looks at Toya, and Toya goes, no comment. And she goes, you know I was here all night. And he goes, no comment. And all of a sudden, she starts to get pissed off, and her personality changes to that of Cheshire, and she starts to fade away from the white and blue person that you see when you look at Yui to the black-haired cat, and she looks at Aizawa and goes, that was me. That tried to catch me. And she disappears. Aizawa goes, oh, crap. It's Cheshire. And he goes, Aizawa, I'll tell you the story if you would so kindly as to not antagonize Yui when she gets back. And he goes, sure. An hour later, Toya has explained the entire story of her life and how they've been dealing with Cheshire and what Toya has made deals for Cheshire to stop doing and what he's made deals for her to do. And he says that the only outburst in the last few months was of her saving Eri. And he goes, so the murder of Overhaul, and he goes, it wasn't murder, it was self-defense. And he goes, how do you know? And he says, well, Cheshire doesn't attack first. Cheshire just points and looks, and if she gets threatened or feels threatened from someone, she attacks. So threatening someone is technically a form of attack. It's mental attack. And he explains the mental fracture of Yui's quirk and says that once she combines back together with Cheshire, Cheshire leaves and never comes back, and her quirk is 5 times stronger than it was originally. And she gets a few extra benefits that Cheshire did. And Aizawa at this point asks, what are the benefits? And he goes, I don't know. Cheshire never tells me. Cheshire knows everything about the quirk, but never tells anybody. And he goes, that's strange. So I'll come back here at dusk and dawn and maybe midnight to see if I can talk with Cheshire and not have her run away. And he goes, there's only one way to stop Cheshire from running away. And that's stopping her from turning invisible. And Aizawa goes, how do we do that? And Toya says, the only way to stop her turning invisible is to use a quirk canceller. That's the only way to stop her from turning invisible. Then, it's habit for her to only teleport when she's invisible. So she just disappears. And Cheshire has this strange obsession with scaring people. And he goes, yeah, she scared me before. And he goes, exactly. She has a strange obsession with scaring people. So tonight, I'll call you when it's roughly the time that Cheshire comes out, and you can come a little earlier, or I'll call you a little earlier than what it's roughly time for her to come out, and you can see if you could stop her and talk to her. And he goes, okay. So Toya goes, I'll call you in roughly maybe 5-6 hours. He goes, why then? He goes, Cheshire is a fickle creature, and if she doesn't come back in an hour, she's not coming back at all. So I suggest you leave now, and I'll call you and give you an update in 5 to 6 hours. He goes, okay. So he leaves, being very skeptical of what Toya just said. And Toya has not been off the radar from Aizawa. He's been off the radar from Endeavor and the police. Aizawa has found Toya, and Toya asked Aizawa if he can keep him a secret, because his father is just abusing him and not actually training him. So Endeavor has some dirt on him hanging over his head, and he doesn't know that yet. He's about to. So we go back to Cheshire, and she's like, dang it, he didn't want to play. And she has somewhat of a childish personality when she sees a hero. And she has the personality of, oh, let me have some fun. And I'll be right back. So, Izumi. No, not Izumi. Yui. I'm thinking of the, what if Femme Deku was a Nico. You guys like that series way fucking too much. Oh, God. That's gonna be freaking hard. Cheshire, the villain side of Yui, is currently going back to the house. And she stumbles upon the walking away portrait of Aizawa. And so she teleports in front of him and goes, you sour meat, you sour puss. You didn't follow me. You didn't play tag. And she starts getting shorter and shorter because she's not flying at this point in time. And she starts stomping around, and he goes, I'm sorry, I just had a few questions. I promise to play with you later if you answer my questions. And she goes, no. Play first, answer later. You have to catch me later today. And she teleports away. And she was invisible slightly. So when she gets back to Toya and Eri, she's in small, cute little kitty mode, and so she walks through the door, and She has white hair, blue stripes through it, and blue highlights, and she has blue eyes. So she walks into the door, and she takes on the personality of Yui, and she's like, What am I doing at the door?" Until he goes, "Oh, you're back." And she goes, "What am I doing at the door?" And he goes, "Oh, someone kind of brainwashed you, so you kind of left." She goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah. Um, breakfast is ready," and he puts a plate with extra eggs, extra bacon, and a little extra on the side for her, and her mouth starts watering, going, "Oh, yummy." So she runs, jumps into a chair, and starts eating. And she's in small child form. And the more she eats, the bigger she starts to get. And she finally gets to the size of a full grown adult. And she's acting like she did when she was hugging Ari. So she starts hugging Ari again and petting and uh, hmm, babying Ari. And Ari's loving it. And so we skip a few months, and she's been playing games with Aizawa and said that each time he catches her, she'll answer one more question, and then he has to answer a riddle. And then if he gets the riddle right the next time he sees her, she'll answer another question. And his first riddle was an easy one. What is white and black? What is white and black and slides on and snow? And he said and the next time he saw her, because this was at dusk, he said a penguin. And she goes, "Ding, ding, ding, you are correct." And he goes, "Okay, before I ask your question, can you please tell me the next riddle?" And she goes, "Nope, question first, then riddle." And he goes, "Okay." And she goes, "I'll answer a question once you get this riddle, but that's only when you get the riddle. If you haven't gotten the riddle yet, I'll just leave." And he goes, "That's fair." And so she answers his questions to the best of Cheshire's abilities. And so she's like, "Now there's one more riddle for you. I am everywhere and I am nowhere. I'm with everyone and I'm with no one. I'm physical and I am figurative. Or I'm physical and I'm ethereal. What am I?" And she says that and disappears. And so we skip another few months, and he's been thinking and thinking and thinking. And one day he finally goes up to Nezu and says the riddle, and Nezu goes, "Uh, I, I don't know." And Aizawa goes, "I'm sorry, did I hear that right?" And he goes, "If you heard I don't know, you got it right." And Aizawa goes, "Sir, um, you've got to know the answer. You're the smartest person in UA." And he goes, I don't know. You got to tell me Cheshire's personality. I might be able to figure it out, but I don't know." And he goes, "I don't even know Cheshire's personality. She's happy one minute, angry the next, and sad the next. She's like a moody teenager." And Nezu goes, "Okay, that makes a little sense because she is a teenager." And he goes, "Yeah, but there's a difference between Cheshire and Yui, the teenager that I talked to." And he goes, "What is the difference?" And he says that the difference is Yui is forthcoming with all the information she knows and her life story, and she does only stutter at one part, and that's what her dad did to her, and she would prefer not to answer that. And he asks, have you ever pushed her to answer that? And he goes, yes, I did, but then Cheshire came out and did this. And he pulls down his shirt just a tiny bit, and it shows 4 scratch marks on his chest. Not lethal, just a little deep scratch marks that will leave scars. And Cheshire said that the next time that won't miss his neck if he pressured Yui to spill the beans about her father. And I've asked about her siblings, and she said that she doesn't know, which is weird because she said she'd always have fun with someone in her family, and she said that she wasn't close to her mother or her father. So Nezu says, okay, I'm going to go through her records and see what's up. And he goes through the records and sees that there's a child named Hagakure that has the same, almost the same exact quirk as her. And he goes, I think I found her. And so he asks Aizawa to go talk to the school and see if what her dreams in life are going to be and what she's willing to do. We skip a few more months. It's finally the UA entrance exams, and Hagakure is put in Alpha Block, and Yui is put in Beta Block, and so Hagakure gets a decent score, and Yui gets a decent score, and they both get the highest score of the exact same amount. 222. They get the exact same amount. They have the exact same tactic, exact same fighting style, exact same amount. And Aizawa saw a pink and purple haired kid in Beta Block and a white and blue haired kid with the exact same pattern in their hair of over in Beta Block. And he's like, what? And he asks Nezu who that purple and pink haired kid is, and he goes, that's Hagakure. And she is going to be in your class. And he points at Yui and says, she's also going to be in your class. He goes, okay, I understand. And so he points at the kid that's at the entrance of Beta Block, and he says, what about him? And Nezu says that he requests to be put in a Yui's class so he can calm her down when she starts getting freaked out, because he's the only one besides you who's successfully caught her when she plays catch or tag, actually. And he goes, okay, that's weird, but sure. And Nezu goes, okay, well, I'm sending out the 0-pointer. So he sends out the 0-pointer, and Yui and him, Hagakure, both have the same reaction of looking at the person that's stuck under the rubble, and they teleport to the person. Hagakure teleports them out. Izumi flies them away. And then they both teleport back to the 0-pointer, and they both go up to the neck and cut their way into the metal and start ripping out the wires. They have pretty much the exact same movements. Just one went left and one went right on the head of the robot. So it's now the first day of UA, and Yui is walking into UA, and she runs into a girl. A pink and purple haired girl. And Toya sees the exact same pattern, and Cheshire has told her about this, the exact same pattern hair. So he covers Yui's eyes and says, "Oh, my fault, my fault." And so he starts walking her to the room and puts a blindfold on her and says, "I don't want anybody to see those pretty eyes." And she starts getting flustered, and he's doing a slight flirt tactic to make her put her head down and in shame and in embarrassment. And Mina, god damn it! Now every time I say Mina, I think of Roman Mina from Discord. Dude, I love and hate your name. Go back to Roman Shipper. Mina sees the flush face and she's, "Ooh, I smell tea." And so it's now 10 minutes after the class is supposed to have started. Aizawa walks in and says, "Okay, all you dumb kids, it's 10 minutes for you to shut the hell up." And Hagakure is seated in the back right. Yui is seated in the back left. And Yui wanted the back right. And Hagakure wanted the back left. So Yui at the when he said they all need to go to the girls' locker room, she stayed behind for a little bit and walked up to Aizawa and says, "Can you move me to the back right?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'll have to ask the person in the back right." And she goes, "Okay, thank you." And Toy goes, "Oh crap, I can't follow them in there." And Cheshire starts taking over, and Aizawa catches her and going, "Oh no, 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 you do not." And Cheshire's like, "Oh, you ruined my fun." And he goes, "Cheshire, we made a deal. You're not to show up during my class." And she goes, "I know, but someone that doesn't like me. So I was going to just be invisible the entire time." And he goes, I know, I understand. But you promised not to show up in the middle of my class." And she goes, "I know, fucking jerk." And so we go to the locker room, and she's taking off her clothes, and she's fully asseted out, and her clothes are only made out of her hair because otherwise it's not the right shade of pink or the right shade of purple. So it's only made out of her hair, and she does have shedding seasons where she sheds a lot more than normal. So Hagakure finishes up and starts walking out and hears a familiar voice outside of the girls' locker room, and she goes, "Okay, that can't be possible." And so Hagakure goes out there, and she just stands there waiting for everybody else. And she sees a guy standing there, and she looks at this guy and sees that he's not that bad looking. So she walks up to him and starts talking to him, and he starts talking to her. And she asks, "So, could we hang out sometime?" And he goes, "No, no, we can't." And he walks away. And she's like, "That's weird. That's a little bit of a jerk move." And the angry Pomeranian starts laughing his ass off. And she's like, "Seriously, Pomeranian, you can shut the hell up." And he goes, "Or what? You're gonna float your face in front of me?" And she goes, "No, no, no, no. I'm not gonna just float my face in front of you. I'm gonna teleport you off a cliff. Because that's fun." And he goes, "Ha! You can't do shit to me." And she goes, "Oh, really?" So all of a sudden, he's at a cliff. That was 30 teleports in a few seconds. He's at a cliff hanging off the edge. She goes, You want to talk to me like that again? And Izumi finally walks out and teleport. Uh, Hagakure teleports him back, being like, "Now shut the hell up, damn Pomeranian." And she turns and sees Yui, and Yui sees Hagakure. And Yui has a headache. And Hagakure is like, no, 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 no. And so she teleports home immediately, and both her parents are dead, so she lives at home alone. And she starts freaking out, being like, no, that couldn't be that. No, 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 that's impossible. And it's now time. It's now. Yeah, it's time for the ball throw. So Yui walks up to the plate, and she still has a headache, a really bad, bad, bad headache. And I'm going to stop it at the end of this test, by the way. And so she throws the ball as hard as she can, and all of a sudden she gets hit in the back of the head with a ball. And she gets knocked the hell out. And her head gets rattled so hard that she could have sworn that she hurt herself, saying that she might have put a little too much power into that throw, and that it's at a different universe and probably hit herself. And Aizawa saying, oh, that's not possible. And then she wakes up again and she's in Recovery Girl's office. And she is asking what happened, and Recovery Girl says that you're struck so hard in the head that you were out for a few days. And she goes, and she starts stuttering because she remembers everything. A flood of memories come by, and she starts crying, being like, why did I do that? Why? And she starts remembering what happened when she was in Cheshire form and all the bad things she did, and she starts scratching at her own face, and she gives herself that scar. And Aizawa is starting to hear her screaming and thrashing around of why the hell she did that and what can she do now. She's a worthless monster that no one likes, and she starts to understand all the things that her dad did to her when she was little. Oh God, I'll be right back. And so after she finally gets out of the recovery room and she's thoroughly scarred on some of her features, she gets taken to the dormitory that was built in the last few days because Toya said that they have someone that they need to take care of and it's too far away for them to keep relying on Yui to take them back and forth with flight. So Nezu had a power loader build a dormitory, and 2 rooms had to have cat castles. And Hagakure got a letter in the mail after that day and says that they are building dorms and they will be ready in a day. So we go to the dorms, and Yui walks in and sees Hagakure. And she runs up to Hagakure and hugs her and says she's so sorry for leaving. And Hagakure goes, yeah, fucking right. If you were sorry, you would have been near me. You'd have been with me a few years ago. And Yui starts to cry, being like, I'm sorry, I didn't know my quirk's side effect. And she goes, don't blame this on your goddamn fucking quirk. And Hagakure gets pissed off at Yui. And Bakugo is in the other room being like, well, damn. And Toya is hearing the yelling and he's like, oh, crap. So he runs down being like, please, stop. And he picks up Yui, and Yui's on the ground crying, and he runs her to her room and puts her in her basically cat bed and says it's okay. And he starts hugging her and Eri, and they fall asleep. And I'm going to end it there. I'm going to end it there, and hopefully you guys liked it. See you guys next time.